looked like a cross between a man and an alien with wings and red eyes. It scared me more than anything that I have ever seen in my life.
It was big, too big to be a person. It stood at least 9 foot tall. I mean, it was massive.
You know, if you see something floating at the top of the ground, wouldn't you, like, run for your life?
You gotta get the gun.
I know there's something out there. I know it's a beast.
Neither one of us were sure if we were gonna make it out alive.
The Appalachians, some of the oldest mountains on Earth. Within these dark hollows and dense forests, an ancient spirit prevails.
Even since the settlers came here, there has always been strange occurrences.
Being out here in the country around all the woods, it's just something about it. It's the surprise around a tree. Other forms of life that we maybe don't see.
You know, growing up, people kind of have a natural fear of the woods, of not knowing what's in the woods.
Along much of the eastern U.S. are the dark inland forests of Appalachia. On its western edge within Breckinridge County, Kentucky, the hills are thick with rumors about a bizarre mutant beast, a crossover between mutton and man, a giant sheep that's gone savage.
Yes, this Appalachian part of the country has been seen a lot. I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't seen it. It was huge. It was huge.
They've got woolly hair. It's usually white or dirty white, huge jaws and fangs, and a tail that usually has no fur on it.
We had to go down to the pump house by the river. And we'd find dead dogs, wolves, all kinds of fish that had been ate on and the bones left.
We had always heard noises that we just could never explain, like a growl almost, but you could hear them for long distances.
The woods are mysterious. People still won't go out really at night into the woods. It's one of the few things that people around here won't really talk about, but there's definitely something out there that keeps them all inside.
That something is a creature that's known to locals as sheep squatch. The legend may have started long ago. Sheep herders immigrating to Appalachia from Britain, bringing stories of demons wearing sheep hides and horns. But to this very day, the belief remains in force.
Sheep squatch is predominantly in the woods. I feel like that it has been very good at eluding. It's had to be. It does know that we're looking. And I think it just wants to be left alone.
Some claim to have caught a glimpse. And recently, 2 adventurous Breckinridge boys, Ricky Joyce and Dakota Cheeks, had a showdown with a sheep squatch. They'll never forget it.
Well, when I tell most people I've seen it, they just tell me I'm crazy, I'm a crackpot. But there are a few people that believe in it. Mainly the people that live around here are the ones that don't call me crazy.
It didn't matter what anybody thought about us. You know, we knew without a shadow of a doubt what we saw.
At 13, Dakota met Ricky Joyce in school. The pair have been close ever since.
There's always been a form of trust between me and Ricky, especially the older we get. You know, he's right there with you to the very end.
We're more brothers than we are friends. He's trustworthy, he's loyal. I've never had a friend that had my back like him.
That bond would be tested on a warm summer weekend in July of 2004. On a hunting trip Dakota and Ricky ventured into some of Kentucky's more remote tracts of wilderness.
All I really need is this.
We go hunting a lot, but this time it was a lot different.
Come on, Lily.
This was a night that would change our lives forever.
Base camp for the deer hunt. Ricky's grandparents' cabin at the foot of 100 acres of dense timber. But the first morning, something's wrong with one of Ricky's dogs.
And we called for her and she just didn't come. Well, we noticed that the dog was laying in the ditch. We walked over and that's when we found her.
It appeared that something had twisted its head almost completely around. It was quite a sight. It just seemed kind of strange, though, that something just handled it like it did.
There's no animal up here that can grab an animal by its chin and the back of its head and twist it. You know, no coyote can do it. There's no bear, as far as I know, up here. It became very apparent that we had to find out, you know, what happened, what got her, and why.
Are there creatures capable of such violence roaming the backwoods of Appalachia?
White things.
I heard it was half man and half sheep.
If you just look at the fact that it has claws, it has horns. Look at the sheer size. You know, it could potentially really be a very dangerous thing.
Before the dog incident, for months we'd been hearing noises coming from the top of the hill. There were growls and screams, things that we just didn't know anything about. We went looking to see if we could figure out what had happened, see if we could find tracks of anything big, anything that could have killed a 150-pound dog like it did.
We decided we were gonna hop on the four-wheelers and stake out the hilltop.
We ended up going the far side of the property.
Dude, I'm telling you, came from right over here.
Where nobody really goes, there's no trails.
We make a couple laps around the field, that way we can both easily see where the four-wheeler has been, so we know where to look.
I was concerned because I didn't know what they were dealing with, if there was potentially harm for them out there.
They searched the area for hours, but no clues turned up. Exhausted, they retreated to the family's hunting camper set within the hillside.
We ended up staying in the camper, and we started hearing all sorts of weird noises, things walking around.
We knew a creature was close. About 5 a.m. in the morning, the dogs start barking and they take off running down the hill. Well, me and Ricky sit there and a little hesitant to go outside because, you know, the other dogs are now gone.
The camper that seemed a safe haven was suddenly under attack.
Something actually ran into the trailer. Kind of scared the crap out of me.
It literally sounded like all hell was breaking loose. It's almost like you can hear something pressing up against the side, and you can kind of hear the tin start to bend. It's just that weird, eerie metal sound. And then it was just free fall. It was like it let go, and then we hit. I was terrified. I mean, there shouldn't be anything out here strong enough to push a camper like that.
What the hell's going on?
When it actually moved and tipped, I wasn't sure what it was.
But we knew without a shadow of a doubt that there was something there.
They had started the day as hunters. Now Dakota and Ricky were feeling they were the ones being tracked.
Neither one of us were sure if we were going to make it out alive.
In July of 2004, Dakota Cheeks and Ricky Joyce were on a hunting trip in the woods of Kentucky. But it took a horrible turn. One of Ricky's dogs was mysteriously mangled. Then, their camper came under attack. Everything pointed to Appalachia's bizarre hybrid beast, sheep squatch.
Anything that aggressive doesn't deserve to be here. If it can't coexist, it needs to go.
At Ricky's grandparents' cabin, they gather more ammunition.
I know there's something out there.
This thing killed my dog, man.
I know it's a beast.
Whatever it was, it had to be huge.
We were determined to find something having that much strength. It made me want to find it more, but I knew that, we couldn't just go up there in a four-wheeler and expect everything to be okay.
I had some beast that lived on my property that killed my dog already. I didn't know what to do about it. I was scared that it was going to come to my house.
With guns loaded, Ricky and Dakota head back into the woods. They crossed through a cemetery and entered an open field.
Your mind is telling you, 1,000 times, don't let him go. But ultimately, you begin to share his passion of, get it. Just be really careful, but get it.
I seen something standing in the field, and at first I thought it was a tree. It was tall, but it was also kind of hunched over a little bit. It was big, it was white.
And its arms were long, but they were kind of out like this, and it had these long talons. It was too big to be a person. When it was on two legs, it stood at least 9 foot tall. I mean, it was massive. When it noticed us, it let out this just ungodly, gut-curling growl. It came straight at us.
And we were shooting. I don't know that we hit anything, but I remember coming back to the house as fast as we could.
We saw sheep squatch. That's what we saw.
And this wasn't the first sheep squatch encounter.
Anybody in the Appalachia region could experience these type things. They may be out hunting deer or something of that nature and stumble upon a creature that they never suspected.
I was on my way home, coming down Ashby Lane, and there was this big hairy thing standing on the road. And as I got closer, I could see an eye. I thought it was a deer, but it was too big. Some kind of sheep thing with horns.
Ever since I was a little girl, I've always heard stories of the creepy things in the woods. I've always heard of Bigfoot, always heard of sheep squatch.
Even when Daniel Boone was around, they talked about this area being very mysterious. They would not hardly venture there due to certain things, I guess they called it a mysterious ground or something of that nature. So it's got a history that dates back all the way to Native American times.
From their description, it's clear Dakota and Ricky had stumbled into monster country.
I've been in some pretty scary situations, but most situations you know what you're dealing with, and that one I didn't. So I didn't know how to react. That's quite possibly the scariest moment of my life.
Yeah, man, let's get this stuff packed. It's like it's about 2 hours to get there.
Yeah.
As a kid, you're not really sure what's in the dark. Once you see what's just beyond the light is when you realize that all your innocence is gone.
It made me believe in the unbelievable. I didn't believe in myths. I didn't believe in wise tales, none of that, until I seen that. And after that, changed my life forever. I mean, there's things out there and we don't know what they are.
I wish we could have found its body that night. Before our time is up, it's done. If we have it our way, we're actually going to drag sheep squatch out of these woods.
While folks in Breckinridge County are fearing what's in the woods, in another pocket of Appalachia, the fear is focused on what might arrive from space. Deep in the heart of Christian County, Kentucky, lies the rural hamlet of Kelly.
Kelly is a quiet little community. Not very many people live there, probably about maybe 3 or 4 churches at the most, and just regular common country folk, like me.
No theater, nothing. There's not even a gas station there.
In the middle of this tiny speck of Appalachia lives native Geraldine Sutton Stith. Geraldine was 8 years old when she first learned about a family secret. A terrifying alien encounter at their farmhouse more than 5 decades ago.
You talk about one little kid being scared to death. I was petrified. I would go around at night, closing the doors and windows, the shades, the curtains, everything, as soon as that darkness started falling. This is the great American horror story.
Gotta get the gun.
In 1955, one of the most famous UFO incidents allegedly took place at the Sutton family farmhouse in Kelly, Kentucky.
This is where it happened. This is the actual property, the actual spot, you know, everything. And so it's kind of like, wow. I'll never forget the day that I learned my father's deep, dark secret. It'll be with me forever.
Late in the afternoon, at Glennie Sutton's farmhouse, the family was settling in. They assumed the day was coming to an end. It was just beginning.
That was Mama, Daddy, Uncle Amber, Aunt Vera, Billy Ray Taylor, and I think his wife was there. And it was me, Johnny, and Kathy, Grandma, Charles, Lonnie, and Mary. And that's, you know, that's it.
It was a house full that weekend. 14 people in that little bitty house. The only communication with the outside world they had was a radio. They were all in the house playing cards or doing something like that. And the old hound dog came running across in front of them, tail tucked, ears down, went straight under the porch. It was kind of eerie. You know, my dad's like, okay, maybe he just got into something, beehive, you know, whatever. Didn't know what it was. But oh my goodness. August the 21st, 1955 was a life changer for the Sutton Langford family.
It all began later that night.
Now, they didn't have air conditioning. They didn't have running water. So anyway, Billy Ray went out to the well to get some cold water. Well, he heard something, looked up, and he's seeing this oval silver object going across the sky. Colors following behind it. Didn't know what it was, had no clue. Ran into the house, told everybody.
They thought he was pulling a joke, you know. But later on, they found he wasn't joking. Something was out there.
When Billy Ray and Lucky went outside to investigate, the lights in the sky were gone, but they weren't alone.
They noticed there was something coming out of the woods in the back. 3.5 foot tall. Big ears, big eyes, arms down to the ground, and it was floating atop the ground, legs not moving.
They had pointed ears, claw-like hands, beady looking, you know. They had a slit for a mouth. They said they were silver looking, green looking, silver plated, nickel plated is what they called them.
It was an eerie thing, you know, if you see something floating atop the ground, wouldn't you like, yeah, you know, run for your life?
Gotta get the guns.
To run into the house. And my grandmother's like, what if y'all went out there to cook up? And he's like, Mom, there is something out here, I'm not lying.
Mama, I'm not lying, there's something out
She knew it was really getting serious when one got a shotgun, one got a rifle.
Come on, guys, come on. It was Lonnie, me, my sister, and I think my brother were all hiding up under the bed at this time because we were all scared. We didn't know what was going to happen. Didn't know what was going to take place. There was fear. There was fear enough that I think we was all crying. All of us kids were crying.
All of a sudden, there comes one as big as you can be. Billy Ray fires at it. JC shoots off around to the front of the house because one of them's peeking in the window and they're just having a battle. The darn little things get shot, they drop, roll away, and then they come back.
Yeah, come on! Come on, JC! Come on, boy! Come on!
They were coming at the doors and windows looking in, like they were wanting to come in. You've got children there, you're gonna protect them. And that's what those country boys did.
For the Suttons, making nice with E.T. wasn't an option. They felt under attack.
Shoot first, ask questions later.
It was just scary. They were scared, the kids were crying, everybody was hysterical.
Eventually, the shooting stopped. The little green men had come and gone.
Finally, it got quiet. My dad said, hit the trucks. So they took out, jumped in the trucks, headed to Hopkinsville. There was police officers there.
In the dark of night, police officers head to the farmhouse to check out the Suttons' fantastic story.
My family had a nice, quiet life. They loved the farm, they loved it out in the country, but that night changed everything for them. It was never going to be the same again.
In the fall of 1955, in the hills of Appalachia, the Sutton family maintains that aliens from space descended on their farm. They came under attack by little green men. Local police were called in, but by that time, hardly a trace of the extraterrestrials remained.
A couple of police officers noticed that in the back, where they had shot one off the fence, there was like a glowing substance on the ground. But they couldn't find any bodies. No hair, no skin, no blood, nothing to show that anything was actually hurt or killed except that there was evidence of gunfire.
There's bullet holes, there's shells, cases all over the place.
By morning, word of aliens landing at the Sutton farmhouse traveled quickly throughout Appalachia.
I was getting ready to go into the 8th grade, and it was just the biggest thing that ever hit this area. Kelly had little green men running around down there, flying saucers. That was something out of Buck Rogers or Flash Gordon or Superman, which was a big thing with all of us kids.
The Suttons were one of the first reported close encounters. They wouldn't be the last.
The Appalachia area has had several famous sightings. You get into Kentucky, you get into the Kelly Little Green Men sightings, you get UFO sightings, abductions there.
Reports of flying saucers quickly became an Appalachian phenomenon.
Oh, we were coming up the road here and we looked around the curve there and we thought it was a car light. When we got around it, it was this big orange glowing light.
Well, I first thought it was an airplane, a jet.
When I saw it, was 6 feet in diameter.
And it was a circle.
Reddish orange tint to it.
Where did it go?
It went right in the treetop. It was huge.
We got all kinds of static on the radio and the car quit. And it just sailed away.
Adding to the area's excitement and fear about UFOs, classified military activities at nearby Fort Campbell, Kentucky, home of the 101st Airborne Division, and a secret nuclear arsenal.
Fort Campbell wasn't very far away. And you could actually see they would do their night maneuvers and the big flares would go up in the air at night. And so every night when they would do the maneuvers, it was like, oh my gosh, is it Fort Campbell or is it something else?
From that fateful night forward, the Sutton family believed in aliens from outer space. Throughout Appalachia, UFO sightings have continued. But to this very day, Geraldine remains wary of their return.
Yes, it does put a fear in you. Big time. Even now, if I'm out at night, I'll watch the sky. It's just a matter of time. You know, they're here. They're here.
Some 400 miles across Appalachia sits Point Pleasant, West Virginia. A small town wedged into a spit of land where the Ohio and Kanawha rivers cross. On any given day, Main Street bears little evidence of Point Pleasant's dark secret. A town famous for its flying monster.
There were kids in cars with their parents who saw it. There were teenagers at a bonfire who saw it. There were hundreds of sightings.
We were just out playing in the woods at night, and it looked like a cross between a man and an alien with wings and red eyes. It scared me more than anything that I have ever seen in my life.
Growing up here in Point Pleasant, I've always heard about the Mothman. As you're growing up and people tell you stuff, you know, you start to believe it, but you've always got that doubt in your mind until you go and experience it yourself.
It all began in the late 1960s with sightings of a Mothman monster. First, the location of the sightings. The TNT bunkers, a former bomb-making plant built during World War II.
Well, the TNT area was an entire community, a town within itself. You can still see maps of it and see how it was a top secret facility for making explosives. But then they let it become overgrown, and the buildings were abandoned and the igloos were abandoned.
After the war, the government no longer needed the bunkers. They were deserted, except for occasional visits by Point Pleasant teenagers, bored and looking for fun.
We used to hang out and play at the TNT bunkers. That was the only thing to do around here, especially during the summer.
In the fall of 1967, high school kids sneaked off to the TNT bunkers for a good time. They encountered something else. Rumors about a Mothman spread quickly through the town.
They were really serious about it and really scared. You know, they had to see something. They were too scared and too emotional not to have seen something. And then, of course, that was the talk of everywhere you went.
While the town was trading stories, one Point Pleasant girl came face to face with something she'll never forget.
I was an innocent teenager till I saw those red eyes. I've just never been the same since then.
Point Pleasant, West Virginia. This small town of some 4,000 souls would be as ordinary as any Appalachian town, except for its monster. The legend began in the 1960s. The town was rife with rumors about a flying creature with glowing red eyes.
I was about 13 or 14. We didn't hear anything about this so-called Mothman till the very day that the first eyewitness at school started telling it.
Faye Laporte grew up in Point Pleasant, dirt poor and one of 14 kids. A family outing to check out the rumors at the TNT bunkers bonded them in a way they never expected.
My brother took us to a movie, and after the movie, we went directly up there because he was going to go find it. He was going to go up there and catch that thing and prove it was some guys in a costume. Myself, I wasn't worried about really seeing anything because I really didn't believe in it either.
As they drove, the weather turned chilly. The sky dark, with only the moon to guide their way.
We were driving down the drag strip to the TNT bunkers, and my brother kept looking over towards me. And then he turned back, and then he'd look over at me again. I said, well, what are you looking at? He said, well, don't look, but there's something there beside the car.
Don't look.
So I turned and looked, even though he told me not to.
Don't look.
And there it was, right beside the window, flying right beside the car.
What is that? Get out of here! Go!
Everything was just haywire. We were scared.
Then the car came to a screeching halt. That's when they met Mothman.
And that thing jumped on the hood of the car and was just looking at me. We were just more or less immobilized. And the whole time, all you could focus on was its eyes, and they were just so red. It was just beyond any red you could ever find. But when it jumped up, that's when I saw it open up its wings just like an angel. They were that big. They looked like a bird's wings, and they just unfolded, and it just went over them bushes and into the night and was gone.
Encountering the dark winged creature known as Mothman had made believers out of the Laporte family. Yet exactly what they'd seen could not be resolved.
We went back the next day because my brother wanted to go and find this thing, this creature, and it was blocked off by the military, and they wouldn't allow us in. He tried to go in, they wouldn't let him, and they got very strict and forceful. We don't need your help, we appreciate it. He said, but just turn around, go and leave, and we'll take care of it.
Well, I don't know why I can't go.
And my brother just kept on. He said, well, I don't see why I can't go in there and help y'all find this, because I want to find it myself. You told to leave now, leave. Right smartly. And I told my brother, I said, come on, Daddy Kills find out we're back up here.
Back the vehicle up, let's go. Turn it around, let's go.
Yes, there's something else out there. And I thoroughly believe that the government covered it up. And within 2 weeks, they left and said they had it and they took care of it, and nobody needed to worry anymore. When we experienced all this, to me, it was just another thing I chalked up as an unexplainable experience in my lifetime. But I know what I've seen is enough that it gives me the idea that we're not the only ones that's in this world. To this day, I believe that.
While the sightings of the Mothman started at the TNT bunkers, a few months later, he was seen on the Silver Bridge, a suspension trestle that links Point Pleasant to Ohio.
There was a stoplight right at the foot of the bridge. It was malfunctioned, and all of these cars piled up on the bridge, and one side of the bridge collapsed, and it dumped one half of the cars into the river, and then the bridge swung back and the other side collapsed. When the cars were floating in the river, the bridge fell on top of it and crushed them all. It was over in minutes.
It began with a hairline crack in a single eye bar. In the end, 46 people lost their lives. The worst bridge collapse in U.S. history.
Friends and neighbors went down on that bridge. My little girl in my class, third grade class, went down on the bridge with her mother.
I don't really discuss the Silver Bridge. My family was on there. Devastated, completely changed me. After the bridge fell, everything was gloom, you know, and everybody here had somebody there on the bridge.
A lot of people say the Mothman was here to warn us about the bridge.
He was seen on the bridge a few days before it fell, but like a good omen. So he was big and ugly, people wouldn't cross it.
After the bridge collapsed, few wanted to talk about the Mothman. The subject disappeared, replaced with suspicions the town was cursed.
I don't really know why everything is attracted to Point Pleasant, but Point Pleasant has had its share at times of a lot of bad things happening.
I believe that there is something very odd about this area, about this place. I also believe that a lot of the people that come from here, there is a dark cloud over them, no matter where they go.
I don't know about anywhere else, but I do know that the paranormal people love to come here. They never leave disappointed.
Brett Kirby is one of those people. In the summer of 2009, he arrived to Point Pleasant for a visit, skeptical about the legends of the Mothman. When he left, he was a believer.
I can't explain what happened to me out there. It changed my life.
Point Pleasant, West Virginia, was the setting of a daytime date for Brett Kirby and Jennifer Jeffers. But just when they thought it was going to offer romance, they stumbled upon the Mothman.
He had never been to Point Pleasant, and so he came up here one day and I took him a tour. It was really exciting, you know, that he came to see me. We went to a few different places around Point Pleasant, and then I told him, I was like, the TNT bunkers, I said, you know, they're out there, you know, and he said, well, what is it? And I was like, well, they're old military bunkers that they used to use, and, you know, they were built on the Indian burial ground.
She just told me that it's haunted and stuff like that. I thought that, you know, it'd probably be kind of romantic and stuff.
As Brett and Jennifer's date started to heat up, they decided to check out the TNT bunkers, the site of the original Mothman encounters.
The TNT bunkers were where people used to go party when we were younger and in school. Everybody always went out there and you always heard the stories and stuff, and they always, you know, come back with, you know, we heard this or we heard that. But I thought it was just because they were drunk. I never really believed it.
We arrived at the bunkers, it was probably about 5:30, 6 o'clock. The weather was probably about 75, 80 degrees outside. We went through 3 of them, and on our way back, we stopped back to the second one. When I went back into it and stuff, it felt like it was probably about 10 degrees cooler than what the rest of the bunkers felt like. I did have like a real eerie feeling and stuff, and it was just, I felt like unease for some reason. I couldn't figure it, I couldn't pinpoint why.
Wow, this place is pretty neat.
At that moment, there was no sound. The only sound was like him clicking the pictures. And then he had quit clicking the pictures, and we were standing there just listening.
Do you see anything? It's cold in here.
And all of a sudden, something like just like grabbed my leg real fast. You know, I can actually feel the fingers, and just something just clamp onto my back of my leg. Because when it grabbed me, I spun around and stuff and looked behind me as if it was an animal that was running around or something. It kind of creeped me out because I didn't know what was going on. And I told Jennifer, something just grabbed my leg. And she goes, oh, no, it didn't. You're just trying to scare me and stuff. And I said, no, something grabbed my leg.
And I was like, oh my gosh, there's something here. I said, I'm out of here. I gotta go. I can't take this. I'm out of here. Because it scared me so bad.
After it happened, I flashed a couple quick pictures as if there was anything in there with us, and so like a mouse or a squirrel or something, just to explain what happened.
We were totally freaked out. It was just something that I had never expected, to happen. We ran back to the car, and then we took off. We went back to his house, and we were looking at the pictures on the computer.
He caught my eye on one of them and stuff, and we went back to it. And the picture had to me, it looked like an apparition. It had like the torso and looked like an arm coming off of it.
My heart just dropped because I was like, oh my gosh, there was something there. There is something there.
First seen that picture, it blew my mind. I had actual evidence on my camera that there was something in that bunker besides me and Jennifer at that time. I mean, it blew me away.
It turned me into a believer because, I've always heard that there is demons that walk up on the earth, but I'd never, really experienced it in myself until that moment.
Some 40 years ago, a dark winged Mothman descended to Earth in Appalachia. Some were terrified. The Badlands, nature's version of doomsday. Often mistaken for desert, but in the Badlands, there's next to no nutrients, no soil, nothing grows. It's all cracking, eroding rock. The best known formations are found in South Dakota, but they exist throughout America's Middle West. Desolate, outlying tracts of emptiness, without a living soul for miles.
This weird, otherworldly terrain here that's actually more reminiscent of Mars than anywhere else is very, very ancient and lends itself to fantastic stories and fantastic events.
The Badlands does seem to be a hotspot for UFOs, strange lights, and just odd phenomena.
In the Badlands, anything does sort of seem possible. Great looming shadows and anything can kind of jump out at you. There's always the possibility somewhere at the back of your mind that something could be lurking out there.
In a landscape so crazed, legends thrive about unwary travelers, falling victim to something monstrous and wicked. While cutting through the Badlands is always a tricky proposition, one route is considered worse than all the rest. Some would say, godforsaken. It began innocently enough, just a numerical change along Route 66 on the highway maps. Now, the north-south branch from Colorado to New Mexico would read 666. Just one more 6. But now this isolated stretch of asphalt was marked, destined for the full wrath of God.
666 is the mark of the beast in the New Testament, and that's what scared people off or created a bad connotation about the name.
There's many people who feel simply because of the number 666, highways haunted or evil, even possessed.
I think being called the Devil's Highway is probably more because of the incidents that have happened on that highway. The amount of truck crashes and car crashes that have happened on that highway.
Despite its reputation, some folks must travel this road. Truckers like Carl Smith.
I didn't really believe in the afterlife or spiritual stuff. I wasn't into all those type of things.
Carl's skepticism would be tested one July night in 2002. He was headed out of Colorado and thought he'd save time by taking Highway 666.
It was a nice summer's evening, so I didn't really have the air on or anything. I think I just had the fan on in the truck.
In the Badlands, the highway abruptly changed to steep curves and switchbacks.
As you turn the truck, you can see the tail of the trailer. If you cut it too short, you're gonna go down off the side of the road. If you make a mistake, it's gonna probably be your last one.
Then, trouble began inside Carl's truck.
My truck just got like cold. Like somebody just turned the industrial AC on, almost like I drove into a freezer box. And then I got the strangest feeling that, you know, there's something here with me. Something or someone's here in my truck.
Carl was now at the mercy of forces he couldn't explain, and in danger of running off the road, or worse. It's pitch black outside, no help for miles. And as we'll see, his run on the Devil's Highway had only just begun.
Well, the things that I've heard of on the Devil's Highway are bizarre creatures like chupacabras, hellhounds, people disappearing or losing time. Just very strange experiences that regular, ordinary people are having when they're out traveling on the road.
There is something about this place geographically that has caused a strange energy anomaly that draws the strange and the mystical and the supernatural. It's all about energy. And if you have oddities in energy, you may have oddities in reality.
While Carl Smith was battling the Devil's Highway in Colorado, another trucker, Terry Aldershoff, was trying to recover from his drive on the Devil's Highway.
Truck drivers never talk about bad things. They've got this macho image that they've got to uphold. And 40 years, I've never told this story to anybody. How do you explain this to somebody? They're gonna think you're nuts.
In 1973, Terry Aldershoff was just back from 2 tours in Vietnam. Trying to escape the horrors of war, he bought a truck and hit the open road.
Driving through the Badlands was very peaceful. It was quiet. It was therapeutic to me.
Escape was what he needed. But one fall day, Terry caught a load out of Safford, Arizona, headed to Denver. That put him en route down Highway 666.
When I pulled out, the sun was just set behind the mountains on the west. And all of a sudden, there was like a cloud mass hanging up over the top of the mountains on the eastern side. Instead of hanging there like a normal cloud bank would, it's coming down the side of the mountain. So now something's not right, and I know it. I can feel it down deep inside of me. There's something wrong. 2 things run through my mind. Can I outrun it, or should I stop? And I thought, I can outrun it. I can outrun anything.
Terry puts pedal to the metal.
The faster I went, it stayed right on top of me. Then all of a sudden it got oppressively close. It was like right down on top of the truck. And it started having these green electrostatic flashes, almost like green lightning. And it was right over the top of me. So I'm trying to see the road, and these green flashes are blinding. I think, I can get out of this, I can get out of this. And I kept speeding up and speeding up and speeding up. And pretty soon I was doing everything the truck could do, and it still was on top of me.
80,000 pounds of motoring metal flying down asphalt at top speed. Terry Eldershoff's best efforts to break free are going nowhere.
I was scared. Now all of a sudden, the Devil's Highway had, it had a meaning.
One day in 1973, truck driver Terry Eldershoff was driving through the Badlands on notorious Route 666. Suddenly, a mysterious cloud started chasing him down.
It wasn't going across and moving across the valley. It stopped and came towards me. So there was something in this that was completely aware of what it was doing. But this was getting lower and lower, and it settled down right over the top of my truck. The dash lights were the first thing to go out. Then the headlights. Then the speedometer dropped down to 0. This green electrostatic lightning is running across the bottom of this cloud, lighting up the road in front of me. And I kept driving faster and faster. And you have no idea how fast you're going. You've got no speedometer, but when the engine starts to float, you're going as fast as you can. And it was floating. And this thing was still over the top of me. I have never been so scared in my whole life. I had no idea what it was going to do.
Eventually, Terry has no choice. He brings the big rig to a grinding stop. But that just makes things go from bad to worse.
I'm watching this cloud, nothing but this green lightning. And the wind kept picking up. The truck would rock, it'd buffet. Then the next thing I know, I could feel the whole truck leaning. And then it'd drop. And it felt like it was actually coming off the ground. An 80,000-pound truck does not come off the ground easily. And dry, so dry. I could barely swallow. My tongue kept sticking to the roof of my mouth. And I can feel this electrostatic lightning or whatever it is. It's reverberating in my jaw. And it kept getting louder and louder and louder. And finally I thought, I gotta get out of here.
It was as if this cloud was a hunter, and Terry, the hunted.
The only thing I could think of was to get out of its line of sight. So I jumped back in the back. The vibration in my head, it made it feel like it was going to explode. I was going out of my mind with the noise. I woke up looking out the windshield, sitting in the driver's seat exactly as I am right now. And I don't remember getting in the driver's seat. Everything's working. all the lights are back on, and I look down at my watch, and 4 hours went by. And I ended up driving over 100 miles and do not remember doing it.
When a cloud doesn't behave like a cloud, and it doesn't behave like a lightning storm, and it behaves like a predator, something's going on. There have been a lot of stories of this strange electric fog phenomenon, or of a UFO coming out of a cloud. So that wasn't the first story of something hidden in a cloud that was strange. It was like using a cloud as cover.
There's something not right with that road. You know, when they call it the Devil's Highway, they weren't lying.
Terry doesn't know how he survived his run on Highway 666. When trucker Carl Smith was up against this road, he didn't think he'd ever see daylight.
I had to keep complete control of this truck, or it's gonna be me down in that ditch. And then I got the strangest feeling, like somebody's trying to get my attention, but it was an eerie type of feeling. Then I looked and I seen this figure next to me in the passenger seat. It was like a misty fog of this silhouette of a person actually sitting there. I was afraid to stare it down. Kind of like staring down a wild dog, you know, you stare at it and it jumps at you.
In the midst of a white-knuckle drive on Highway 666, trucker Carl Smith suddenly noticed he's not alone.
I'm trying not to stare at this thing next to me and keep on the road straight going ahead. This person or entity, whichever anybody wants to call it, now it's a complete distraction. And now I'm looking at, well, okay, I could turn too far, I'll end up off into this canyon somewhere. It becomes very nerve-wracking. Every muscle in your body is like tense at that moment. You're just like, whoa, this can be it. When I finally built up some more nerve there, I glanced back over again. Then it was just faded away. And it was just gone and everything was just like nothing happened except for my nerves were still all on end.
Carl turned the last corner. The road ahead was straight and flat.
It just all hit me like a big shock, like, you know, what the hell did I just go through? You know, what's going on here?
As soon as he could, Carl parked at a local truck stop.
I started talking to other truck drivers, and a couple of them said, well, yeah, that's happened a few times to other people come over that way. A lot of the drivers and the people that live in the area believe that that trucker who gets in your truck with you tries to guide you through that section of road where it caused him his demise.
One possibility that occurs to me is that there are some kinds of guardians that look out for travelers.
I have friends that think that it's evil just because of the 666, with that being the devil's number, but I feel there's also good spirits that could be warning you.
I really don't know what it was next to me. It could have been a guardian. I could believe that the person that was in my truck or the spirit that was in my truck was that trucker that never made it through the turns and didn't make it to the bottom of the Devil's Highway.
Route 666 sparked so many rumors that in 2003, the federal government renumbered the route to 191.
Most people know that it was Route 666. You can change the name and change the energy of a place, but there's still that undercurrent.
My night on the Devil's Highway was one of the scariest nights of my life.
"500 miles east of Old Route 666, the West Texas Badlands meet the vast, empty plains. Over millions of years, wind and rain carved this region in spectacular ways. A beautiful, yet desolate place.
You don't have to get very far outside of town to feel very isolated with the curves and the twists and the terrain, the rocks and things. There's just always a sense that there's something hidden, something watching you. There are a lot of legends and mysteries about this place, and yet I don't think anyone ever saw anything like I did.
Brian Bethel is a journalist in Abilene, Texas. For nearly 20 years, he's covered city politics, community issues, and major events. Brian is trained to follow the facts and get to the truth of the story.
Brian is a reporter in that old school style. Brian's not going to be the first guy to go. Somebody says that they've seen something weird, obviously it must be true. He has about the right dose of objectivity. I have no good explanation for what happened to me at all. And it's one of the most frightening things that ever happened in my life.
In the spring of 1996, Brian was busy covering city council meetings and rushing to file his stories by deadline. Then one evening, he remembered an unpaid bill, one he had to take care of across town that very day.
The parking lot seemed very isolated. There was an eerie sense about it, but it was odd that there was no other movement, no other people. Couldn't see anyone in the movie theater. I did feel kind of a sense of being alone there. I felt a little bit of safety because I was in the light of the marquee. But there was sort of a little strange feeling about the atmosphere. Nothing that you could put your finger on. I just want to get this errand done and go home. I don't really want to be here.
Brian had his head down, writing out a check.
There's this very sharp rap at the door, and it startled me. I look over, and there's two young men standing outside. They might be somewhere between 9 to 14, both of them wearing pullover hoodies. I rolled down the window very slightly and said, "Can I help you?" That's when things began to get just really weird.
Hey, mister.
The older of the pair did all the talking. He says, "Hey, mister, we left our money at home and we want to see the movie. Can you drive us to our mother's house?" He had this very smooth aura about him, almost a too smooth diction.
Come on, it won't take long.
That you would not expect from a child. Almost immediately, there was this primal, terrible fear that began to grip me. There's something wrong about them. And it's not just the smoothness of the spokesman. Some part of my primal brain is saying, "Run, you fool."
In the spring of 1996, in a deserted parking lot on the outskirts of the Badlands, newspaper reporter Brian Bethel was writing a check. Out of nowhere, two children approached, asking him for a ride. For Brian, the decision would turn into a matter of life or death.
I wanted away from them. I was scared to death. I was almost literally trembling, trying to keep myself together in the face of just a couple of little kids. I think he began to understand that I was afraid of them at some level because he started to be reassuring.
Come on, mister. We don't have a gun.
That unnerved me. There was this subtle note there that said that we don't need a gun, mister. All this time, this mounting sense of danger that I am about to die.
Brian suddenly notices his hand is reaching towards the handle to unlock the door.
My hand had sort of strayed toward the car door on its own, a little too close to the latch. I'm like, I don't remember doing that. You're not letting them in. Move your hand away. Was it mesmerism or some sort of hypnotism? I can't objectively say that. And then the spokesman started to get angry.
Mister, we need in your car.
He said, we can't come in unless you tell us it's okay.
Tell us it's okay.
I look over at them. It hits. I see their eyes, and they are cold, black, soulless orbs. No iris, no sclera, just one black void. They were like shards of night, and I am more frightened than I have ever been in my entire life. And at that point, every single thing in me says, get the hell away now.
Breaking from his trance, Brian took off.
I ripped out of the parking lot as quickly as I possibly could, only taking a moment to look in my rearview mirror and see that there was no one standing where the children were. They were gone. It was like that they almost just vanished. I don't even remember the drive home. All I know is that I got there absolutely terrified. I was chilled to the soul.
Still shaken by the encounter, Brian calls his best friend Chad Beavers, a psychologist in nearby Amarillo.
I have never heard Brian be scared at all, ever. Certainly not like this. It freaked me out almost as much as I think he was freaked out.
Brian still has no idea what it was that he encountered.
People have various theories, everything from vampires to ghosts to aliens.
I think black-eyed kids are terrifying because they're extremely predatory and they are sort of relentless. And this is the other part that's scary. You have to know that you can't let them in or accept their help because that's how you've given away your power and now they have a way to access you.
I believe that I was being hunted in some manner. They use camouflage or subterfuge to draw in prey because we are hardwired to look at children and say, these are innocent creatures.
The black-eyed kids, very modern manifestation of a very ancient phenomenon of fairies and fairy abductions. What we're looking at is possibly a new twist on a very, very ancient thing that humans have been encountering for thousands of years.
Brian wrote about his experience, the first report of its kind, and as the incident spread from the Badlands, dozens of people contacted Brian about their own black-eyed kid encounters.
I'm driving home and there are two children walking up the hill. So I pull over and I say, you guys all right? Do you want me to call your mom? One of them said to me, let me in the car. I said, no, I'll call your mom. The other one said, let us in the car. I had this feeling of doom and dread. And they both looked at me and they were as pale could be with black eyes. I became very, very panicked. I started saying the St. Michael prayer. St. Michael the Archangel, your protection against the snares of the devil.
There are no confirmed cases of death at the hands of black-eyed kids. But it's the stories Brian has never heard that worry him.
I wonder about the people who just saw a couple of kids and said, sure, you can come in, I'll give you a ride. And then what happens to them?
Can I help you?
If a black-eyed kid knocks on your door, don't let him in, because it may be the last thing that you do.
Dangerous roads, iffy hitchhikers. Just a couple of ways the Badlands can lead to misery and evil. In another corner of the region, an entirely different route to misfortune. A place where ordinary people tempt fate with a legendary curse. East of Phoenix, Arizona, there's a range of mountains known as the Superstitions.
It's volcanic and has eroded down to this level, but it's very rugged terrain. It's actually federal wilderness area. So no roads, no motorized vehicles. It's just the way it was hundreds or even thousands of years ago.
The weather can change suddenly, and sometimes it's a drop in degrees of 30 to 40 degrees in a matter of minutes almost. Superstition Mountain is beautiful and kind of a little scary.
For centuries, dark rumors have swirled around these peaks.
People tell me that they come out here and that they have seen black shadows, and they think that they feel spirits out here.
Superstition Mountains to the local tribes were a sacred area, and they also believed in the evil spirits that inhabited the area, and it was bad luck to go in, and sometimes those who went in would not return.
The bad luck seems to revolve around any attempt to remove gold from the mountain fortress. A move that's believed to incite the wrath of Indian spirits.
The spirit stories are very, very strong. They don't want anybody to take anything from the mountain. Anything that's in there is sacred to them.
There have been several hundred people that have passed away here in the Superstition Mountains hunting for gold.
In the 1870s, one man, Jacob Waltz, nicknamed the Dutchman, managed to strike it rich. Somewhere within this mountain, Waltz found a gold mine, and it's lured prospectors here ever since.
Some people believe there is still a curse on Superstition Mountain and that it can be a dangerous place to go into. So it's hard to say, you know, maybe the evil spirits are still out there.
Despite the curse on any who try to claim the mountain's gold, some can't help themselves.
People can get obsessed with that place because of the gold fever, treasure. They get high off it. They see nothing but that. They dream it. They eat it.
Carol Merworth knows this tragic tale all too well. Her son Curtis had gold fever.
When Curtis was a boy, he'd always act like he was treasure hunting with his sister all the time around the house and stuff. He was always interested in it.
Years later, with a wife and family, Curtis was still captivated by the idea of finding buried treasure. It led him into a world of treasure maps and tales of the lost Dutchman's mine.
This Native American lived down that way, and Curtis made friends with him. And he said he went there all the time getting gold. And he gave Curtis an Indian map so Curtis could get some gold.
Curtis believed he finally had the break he'd been looking for, and he recruited two friends to help him find the Dutchman's gold in the Superstitions. With this Indian map in hand, any concern about the mountain's curse was left behind.
Curtis thought that it was nonsense about the curse. All he was interested in was finding the gold.
In the last few days before Curtis's expedition, his mother began having frightening premonitions.
In my vision, he kept coming to me, talking to me, and crying to help him, to get the searchers and that and the planes to find him, because he was going to die. Curtis was determined to go up there no matter what, to the Superstition Mountain, find the lost Dutchman's gold mine. I just told him it was the wrong place to go. It was a wicked mountain to me.
In the summer of 2010, Curtis Merworth and two friends hiked into the Superstition Mountains in search of the lost Dutchman's gold. Hiking these desolate badlands is difficult any time. But Curtis was taking on the superstitions, a place darkened with a dangerous curse.
The superstitions just have all kinds of different stories and lore about the things that have happened to people out here. And many people have even been decapitated out here while they're out here hunting for this treasure.
I told him, please don't go, we need you, I'll never see you again. And he just went on, ignored me.
Armed with a map given to them by a Native American elder, the men planned on 3 days to find the gold.
The spirits try to guide you off the trail when you're trying to find things. Confuse you. They don't want you to find their gold.
You know, you step on one rock wrong, and you can end up 100 feet down in a canyon. One step wrong, and a rattlesnake that doesn't rattle. The Badlands is a good name for the Superstition Mountain area. Things can go wrong within a matter of a minute.
He's going to go for 3 days and come back. And he didn't come back, so I knew something was the matter.
Carol's dark visions began again.
In my vision, he feels bad because he can't find his way back. I could see him, and I could see him yelling, help, help me. They were lost. And he was crying, begging me, please help me, and stressing me out.
After several days, Carol notified the search and rescue team.
The searchers went out with planes, with dogs, even on horseback, and there were volunteers that went out on foot. A lot of times they had to go out at night because of the heat, but they could not find the lost hikers.
Days turned into 6 long months with no news.
I almost had a nervous breakdown, and it's hard when people go missing and you don't know what's happened to them.
In January of 2011, longtime prospector Rick Gwynn ventured into the Superstitions on his own attempt to find the Dutchman's mine.
I need to have my hip replaced, so I went out for a last hike and by myself just to enjoy the mountains. About halfway up the hill, and I figured I'm just turning around and I'm going back because my hip wouldn't allow me to go any further. And I turned to the right, and I could not believe what I saw. I mean, I was just like, whoa. There I saw the remains of a gentleman by the way he was dressed. And about 60 feet down from him was another skeletal remains.
Rick had found the bodies of the hikers that accompanied Curtis Merworth. Given the terrain and temperatures, it was no surprise they turned up dead. But the condition of the bodies raised suspicions about the mountain's evil curse.
When I got to looking around, it just didn't add up. They had their lantern on, so apparently whatever happened to them, they were there at nighttime when it happened. And the light was left on whenever they met their demise. There were 2 holes in the back of a gentleman's head, which is just not normal. Most people don't have those there. Skeletal remains of a gentleman had one of his rib bones sticking out the front of his shirt. It looked as though his ribs in the back had been blown in, actually, is what it was. I just don't feel that they passed away over natural causes. I feel as though maybe they did have some curse or something following them.
Rick was anxious to head back and alert the authorities, but that plan suddenly went awry.
It was unbelievable. It was like somebody was holding me there. The curse almost got me.
Like many treasure seekers before, Curtis Merworth and 2 friends trekked into the Superstition Mountains, lured by legends of gold. And just like dozens before, they disappeared. It might have stayed that way if not for Rick Gwynn, a prospector who managed to find the bodies. The mountain had already taken its toll on the hikers. Rick thought he might be next.
I tripped and fell down, and my doggone backpack got caught up on some of the stubs of the trees that were there. I was about to roll off of the hill. I finally was able to get out of that rascal. But I thought for a while there I was going to be right along with those gentlemen. I truly did. It was unbelievable. I was ready to get the hell out of there that morning, for sure. I don't know why I felt so bad, as bad as I did. There was something else that just made me feel really, really strange and bad out there. And I don't normally ever get that way in the mountains, you know, at all. But that place just seemed to be really eerie.
Later that day, Carol Merworth gets the news that 2 bodies had been found, but not her son Curtis.
I thought they'd be together. But when they didn't find him, then I got really upset. Because I thought, oh, where did he go?
2 weeks more, and 6 long months since Curtis left, the sad news finally arrived.
They found Curtis about a half a mile from the other bodies.
His remains were broken and scattered.
His bones, his legs, and that was scattered 2 miles away, and different pieces. I feel like the spirits tore my son up, and it's also a warning to other people not to go up there to Superstition Mountain, because this is what could happen to them. I feel like the curse killed my son.
If there is a curse, it still had not yet claimed its final victim.
The Indian gentleman that gave them the map, it's kind of strange that he would die also at the very same time that these gentlemen disappeared. He supposedly fell into one of the viaducts in town and it crushed his skull. I think that it might have been connected to the curse. The reason being is I don't think he was supposed to tell anybody about where the Indians hope these treasures buried out here.
4 people died going to Superstition Mountain because it's cursed. That's why all 4 of them died, including my son.
When you're out in the Badlands, there is a strange quality to it. There's always the possibility somehow that you might encounter something strange.
There are absolutely entities out here. It's like there's something always watching you. Who they are, I really can't answer. And it gets really bad here fast.